Dear aspirants, welcome back to Aurora IAS YouTube channel. So we continue the lecture series on ecology and environment. You can always follow us on Telegram channel Aurora IAS, as well as visit the website for all the latest updates and course materials, as well as for the guidance programs on the website www.aurorais.com. So in this session, we'll be dealing with the terrestrial ecosystem, types of various biomes of the world, just like the Tundra Taiga, forest, grassland, temperate, and Indian forest types. So the first thing before I enter into the discussion is about the personal guidance program for all the Hindi and English medium students as well. By the experienced mentor like Aurora sir, who will guide you step by step by giving you the online daily study plan, feeling the difference of the UPSC preparation, where you understand your lacunae and try to convert your lacunae and weaknesses into your strength points with the individual daily timetable and the prelims and mains relevant note materials, daily editorials, one-to-one doubt clearing sessions so that you can enhance your writing answer skill, practice sessions, and what not to study and how to study, where to study, and what to study from. Everything will be told by your mentor Arora sir, and he is actually busy with the PGP program. That is why he's not able to do the series, and I'm lending my voice to the series. For all the latest updates on this program, you can always contact us on the below mentioned details. So quickly, let's get into the session with the terrestrial ecosystems of the world. So the terrestrial ecosystems is nothing but biome in the ecosystem. What is the difference between a biome and an ecosystem? Let's understand. We have already known that ecosystem is nothing but the interaction between the abiotic and the biotic living organisms in the environment, where they start interacting with each other. They are not influenced by any other physical factors or the climatic factors or the chemical factors, but they are influenced only with the interaction at the trophic levels, such like coral reef systems, Gulf of Mexico ecosystem, or any other ecosystem. Particularly in any environment, you will find a peculiar ecosystem principles. Whereas a biome is nothing but a region which is determined by all the physical, chemical, and biological factors, such as the tropical rainforest, savanna, tundra, taiga, coniferous forest. The biomes are influenced with the latitude, the climatic precipitation, as well as the temperature and various other factors. That is how a biome and an ecosystem is differentiated by. So in this map, it shows the different kinds of biomes all over the world, where the Arctic tundra, which is the white portions above, in the Arctic region, you can see taiga, which is just below the tundra region, then temperate broadleafs, temperate steppe, Mediterranean, and various other kinds of ecosystems, especially the biomes we call it, because over a large extensive areas these exist. Another map which shows a discrete level of biome systems, where tundra and ice cover, taiga in the upper North American portions, temperate deciduous on the eastern and well as western Asian portions, desert tropical rainforest in the equatorial belts, as well as the grassland systems with temperate rainforests in the southern South American systems. So this is one of the various major kinds of the biomes. In a form of a chart is explained here. And an aquatic biomes, it is including all the watery regions of a region, where a largest biome covering the greatest amount of the surface area, because most of the water surfaces is like 97% is about the water surfaces on the earth. Then comes the forest biosystem, which is determined by the temperature as well as the dominant by the deciduous trees, as well as the changing seasons, leaves shed and leaves change their colors. Whereas in the tropical areas, it is close to the equator, where all the four seasons will not be marked, because most of the regions will be habited with lots of precipitation, and strict four season schedule is not followed, and thus it is marked by great biological diversity. Do you think so? Please comment down below. The taiga is the northmost forest biome, where taiga colder regions are dominated with coniferous trees. Conifers are the needle like trees, leaf structure, which will shed in their leaves in the summer, whereas not in the winter season, because they have to protect themselves from the harsh winters. When you come to the tundra biome, tundra is again described into Arctic and Alpine, where Arctic is the higher latitudes in the most of the northern Arctic regions with the permafrost, with small, very small plants, because the habitation of the plants at the extremes of winters is a very difficult situation. That is why fewer plants and animals are available here. Whereas in the Alpine, which is also in the higher latitudes, but compared to the Arctic tundra, this is slightly backed by the mountainous regions. Thus, a lots of biodiversity variation will occur here. And then comes the desert biomes, where these are frequently the centers of the continents, whereas mostly in the western portions. Why western portion of the continents always have a board of deserts is what your geography concept will deal with. So I would want you to just brush up your topics there, or why the western parts of the continents have desert biomes. And it is hot and dry, almost no plant growth, only maybe hot or cold, and semi arid regions with some kind of precipitation. In the coastal area, it is prone to lots of fogs, and often world's driest deserts also occur in the coldest portions as well. Then comes the grassland biomes, where it is described in savanna and temperate regions. Savanna is nothing but it has lots of tall grasses with shrubberies, as well as diverse wildlife like rhinoceros, lions, hippopotamus, cheetahs, and all these are the grasslands, because these are the grazing animals. And then comes the most of the important things is the temperate, because this region has the rich livestock culture, grazing population. That is why the livestock of this region, the milk producing countries of the temperate grassland biomes, are richer, such as the Europe and the North American. So describing these biomes is completed in this slide, and a triangular representation I tried to mention in a latitude wise how these biomes exist on the latitude, where you see here it's expanding from the dry to wet. On the latitude wise, it's cold warm. So on 0 degrees, if you see on the eastern portion rainforest, then deciduous. When you go interior to the continent side, the savannas, then the tropical grasslands with the warm deserts on the western portion. On the higher latitude of 30 to 20 to 30 degrees, you can find some temperate deciduous forest. In between, you have some prairies, which is the grasslands, and the left side, which is a cold desert. On the higher regions of the mountain regions, you'll find the boreal forest, tundra, and finally the polar ice caps. Next one, the same thing in a pictorial, in a better format, I wanted to represent it. That is why a desert, then savanna and rainforest, how it is represented. Temperate grasslands in the temperate regions. Some of the cold deserts also are formed in the temperate latitudes. Subarctic regions are the taiga forest, where you find some kind of a lots of vegetation and the snowy peaks also. But in Arctic and tundra vegetation, you will have some kind of very small grasses on the land, as well as the snow peak mountains. Then let's start the discussion with the tundra. Tundra is nothing but the barren land, because it is permanently frozen. 25 to 100 centimeters of rainfall will occur per year. It is the world's coldest and driest biomes. Very little precipitation, with very significant portion of the shrubs or the mosses or lichens are available. That is why it is poor in nutrients, and short growing seasons, with warm season that is very wet, and thin layer of tundra soil has been always underneath the permafrost region. That is why it is permanently frozen layer of ground. And in plant section, they have these mosses, shrubs, sedges, lichens, grasses. In animal section, they have the rodents, wolves, arctic foxes, bears, polar bears, lemmings, and wolverine and reindeer kinds of animals also. So that is the difference between the Arctic and alpine tundra, which we already discussed. If you see, the Arctic tundra is completely frozen all throughout the year, and alpine, it has some kind of a vegetation, greeny vegetation you can see, and snow peak mountains are not completely covered, but somehow here and there you can see it. So the main difference between the alpine and Arctic tundra is that the higher elevations, more the higher elevation, that is the Arctic tundra. The mountainous elevations where some kind of vegetation and animals can be found, that is the alpine tundra. And taiga, next comes the taiga. Taiga is nothing but the needle-like forest. Let's see the example. See the needle-like forestry ecosystem that occurs here, which has a lot of coniferous trees, like which is called the pine, fir, spruce, and larch. These roots are long, because they need water from, and they have to survive in such kind of a harsh environment. The needles are like tree leaves. They have these long, thin, and waxy leaves, so that whenever the snowfall falls onto the leaves, it just gets down. It's a habitation of the ecosystem. And then there is a low sunlight and poor soil. That is why they are not rich in nutrients, as well as most of the ice cover occurs in the area of soil region will be more acidic. The short rainy moisty weather with warm summers and long cold winters, very low temperatures. That is why the rainfall is somewhat around more than the tundra vegetation of 40 to 100 centimeters rainfall. The animals are found are bears, hares, then mink, and moose, caribou, all these kind of animals. Just have a look at it, because it might be asked in some questions like Rhododendrons, it was already asked, like rhododendrons kind of vegetation, which kind of an biome it is found out. So by understanding the vegetation and the animal names also, you can answer some questions in the examination. And it stretches from the Eurasia, North America, parts of Siberia, Alaska, Canada, and Scandinavian countries, which is almost the just below the Greenland portions. So the grasslands. Next comes the grasslands. Grasslands, what are the grasslands? There is a lot of grasses. Like rainfall is less, so that is why forest trees will not be available in this region. That is why the grasslands are of very thin, and dried trees only survive in such places. Where the tropical regions like the 30 degrees, like 10 to 30 degrees regions, we are called the tropical grasslands of savanna, whereas the 30 to 60 degrees grasslands are called as a temperate, which is also called the steppes or the prairies according to the places it differs with. So the savanna is something like this. It is in Africa, you can find it, the major regions where little bit shrubs are there, and shrubs are present here, little bit dried up trees. Trees are also not full of vegetation, but dried up with lots of grazing kind of an animals will be seen in the savanna grassland. It is mixing of woodland trees as well as sufficiently spaced, because not many big trees are present, and the canopy will allow only light will be coming up to the ground, but the grasses will not need that much of light, so it will be like somewhat not even efficient enough also. And then comes the temperate grassland. Temperate grasslands is nothing but 30 to 60 degrees. What occurs is the temperate grasslands, where below the atmosphere you can see the grazing fields are so rich in the nutrients in the temperate region that these animals, livestock, which are feeded by these grazers, that is where they get a lot of good productive milk, and they stand out to be the outstanding milk producing nations. Then comes the steppes. Steppes, if you see, the steppes are these another type of grassland systems where the grasses will be up to a certain extent, in the sense like it is okay to have a short or small shrubs that occurs for frequent grazing animals, but the steppes are in a bit of higher elevations compared to the temperate grasslands. Then comes the tropical evergreen forest. Tropical evergreen forest, what is a tropical evergreen forest? Evergreen is in sense like all throughout the year they'll be having lots of water to survive. About 200 centimeters of rainfall it occurs. That is why a thick vegetation will occur. 20 to 25 degrees of temperature. These extend between 0 to 10 degrees north and south. It has most of the world's animals and plant species because they don't have any time to shed. They keep green all throughout the year. The top soil is always leached because lots of rainfall comes in. If the thick vegetation on the above surface is so huge such that the sunlight doesn't penetrate inside, that is why you don't find lots of grasses or any kinds of small shrubs inside the evergreen forest, wet evergreen forest. So there are well stratified layers, like different layers kind of formation occurs because the canopy is so thick that the creepers, epiphytes, all kinds of plant species will try to habitate in such kind of a biome system. Then comes what kind of plants and animals do occur here. Trees like herbaceous plant climbers, then lianas, epiphytes, then tall and large trees like ebony, mahogany, rosewood, palms, creepers like vines, lianas, bromeliads, shrubs, herbs, all these kinds of things. Animals will be arboreal, like they will spend most of the time on these trees only, just like elephants or rhinoceros, sloth bears, snails, butterflies, and all these kinds of rich variety of animals can be found here. The ecological productivity of this tropical evergreen is the highest among everywhere. It is found majorly in the wet evergreen. If you see, it is found at South America, West Africa, Australia, southern Indian portion, which is the Nilgiris or the Western Ghats and Eastern Ghats mixing zone, as well as the Southeast Asia. Now comes there is different kinds of two different kinds of evergreen forest. One is wet and one is semi-evergreen. Wet is something like more than 200 centimeters of rainfall, which is occurring around the Indo-Malaysian region and Amazon basin, with the long straight evergreen trees of mahogany, rosewood, ebony, then jackfruit, betel nut and all. Whereas semi-evergreen is less rainy seasons with mixture of evergreen and moist deciduous like white cedar, hollock or kale are the main species in it. So next comes the deciduous. Deciduous, why is it deciduous? Because they have a dry period called summer, in which they have to withstand the drought and the hot conditions. That is why what do? They adapt to the situation by shedding their leaves. If they don't have leaves, there is no evapotranspiration occurring. So that is why in 10 to 25 degrees north and south, there are tropical deciduous forests in Southeast Asia, Central and South America, Southeastern USA, Southeastern and Western Africa, South Brazil and Burma, and Southern China. Around the temperature would be like range of 25 to 30 degrees, and the density of plants is very much lower than rainforest because the temperature conditions are hot, right? So there is only number of species will be reduced, and there is less competition for the sunlight, such that every organism or every plant that is occurring in the area will get sufficient sunlight. There is number of domesticated animals in such kind of a region. So there is one dry deciduous and another form of moist deciduous also available. Now when you see the dry deciduous, what happens in dry deciduous? The leaves are shed completely in the dry season, just like the thorn forests of the desert areas where sal, people, neem, teak, tendu or bale, care, axolotl kind of a vegetation is found there. As well as if you see some moist deciduous, you will find some kind of Western Ghats area where continuous rainfall does form in the monsoon season. That is why trees like sandalwood, sesame, or hora or mahua, kusum, arjun, mulberry, kher, rosewood, deodar, and mangoes kind of plants will be available. So that is the difference between a moist and a dry deciduous. Let's come to the next type of Indian forest. So Indian forest, Indian diversity itself is a monsoonal type of a forest system, monsoonal type of a climate system. That is why it will have a continuous 4 seasons is available in a country, a subcontinent like India. That is why there is strict classification of forest in India, like tropical forest with moist semi-evergreen, moist deciduous and littoral swamps. With dry forest we have dry evergreen, dry deciduous and thorn. With mountain we have wet hill, dry evergreen and pine forest. With temperate we have montane forest. Subalpine we have Himalayan, dry and deciduous forest, and then alpine we have moist and dry alpine. A strict classification is found because we have these many climatic classification, that because we are a monsoonal dependent country. And this chart will differentiate different kinds of climatic vegetation that we have. Just like this, when we consider the Jammu Kashmir portion, that would be about alpine nature with some parts of Arunachal Pradesh. Then we have dry grasslands of these Himachal and Uttarakhand upper portions. Then we have wet evergreen in some parts of below the Uttaranchal and Himachal Pradesh, and then some of the portions of Western Ghats, and we find some of the portions in northeast also. Tropical thorn, which is in pink color, which is the interior peninsular plateau as well as the Rajasthan and Gujarat portion. So all in all, you can just pause the video and see which areas is actually having what kind of a vegetation in the country. Now there is a kind of a forest system that exists in India, is specific and very special and unique to the Indian forest types. That is the Shola forest. What is a Shola forest? It's nothing but it is found in South India in southern Western Ghats, where the last reach of fog and mist will reach this forest that will be of montane forest types. The rolling grasslands at the higher elevations, like the grasslands usually are found at the very low elevations, right? If these grasslands like shrubs or plants which are less than 700 centimeters of height are found in the mountain regions, those are called as Shola forests. These are unique to the southwestern Ghats. Kurinji and Neel Kurinji is one of the shrubs that is very important portion of this Shola forest. Kaveri and Vaigai river are based in these Shola forests. Now what are the biogeographical realms in India? Biogeographical realms, bio plus geography, in the sense climate, altitude and terrain will define what kind of a realm, in the sense biome, that exists in the world. India has 10 of its regions, world has 26 biotic provinces. In Indian, as we discussed, there are 10 regions, right? What are these regions? One is the Trans-Himalayans. We have Trans-Himalayans, then we have the Himalaya portion, Northeast, Gangetic Plain, Deccan Peninsula, semi-arid, desert, coast, Western Ghats and Eastern Ghats. So the all in all 10 portions will be combined to form a biogeographical region. Biogeographical region, because if you see the belt of any of the biogeographical region, they will have the same kind of a vegetation, climate, temperature, wind kind of a conditions, and they will be affected with if suppose a flood occurs in these Gangetic plains, the region from this point to this point will get affected the same way. So that is why a biogeographical realm is known as the portion that occurs with the same characteristic features of flora and fauna, that is the biogeographical region. So in India, you can see the Trans-Himalayans of Ladakh and Tibet, Himalayas of northwestern, western, central, and eastern Himalayas, desert of Thar and Kutch. We have Deccan Peninsula of central highlands on Chota Nagpur Plateau, Deccan South, Gangetic plains of upper and lower Gangetic plains, islands of Andaman and Nicobar. So each of the biogeographical region, whichever region it comprises of, is given in the chart. You can just read about it. And in the world, we have 26 biotic provinces, right? So these biotic provinces has been clubbed into one format. Like Nearctic is one of the region biogeographical realm, which comprises of North America as well as the Greenland and Denmark. All these portions is one of the portion. Then Neotropical, Afrotropical, Palearctic, Indo-Malayan, Oceanian, Australian, and Antarctic. So these are formed around the different evolution periods. Like when we had the elevation of the sea level change, then some of the Arctic realms have been formed. When the sea level receded, then we have different types of realms. So different areas had different kinds of vegetation evolved through the thousands of years of Earth's crust and Earth's vegetation formation. That is why biogeographical realms on all over the world has been classified into 26, which is of no matter of importance to us, especially only it's important for optional geography students. So I'm not discussing for that point of view here. Just to have a basic idea, the clubbed portions has been dealt with: Nearctic, Neotropical, Afrotropical, Palearctic, Indo-Malayan, Oceanian, Australian, and Arctic. Now will come what kind of a portions, like what kind of an conservation methods or the policy making has Indian government taken to conserve these forests. We have seen, right, Indian soil or Indian vegetation has rich biodiversity that it has to be conserved, so that the forest has to be enhanced. So what have been occurring in recent times is that in National Forest Policy of 1988, it has ensured that environmental stability and maintaining the ecological balance is very important to sustain this all life forms that exist on the Indian soil. So that is why they have drafted a policy making lots of changes in the environmental laws in the country also. Before that, we need to understand that forest policy is to only enhance the coverage of the area under forest cover, which has to be 1/3, which is 33 1 by 3 percentage. Right now, what is the percentage? We'll see that in Indian Forest State Forest Report of 2017. So it is concerned now with another draft policy is coming 2018. If that comes before your prelims examination, please do check it out, because regarding that portion the questions might be asked in this area. So in order to have a concern towards a decline in the forest area productivity, that is what the National Forest Policy aims to. What is the concept behind National Forest Policy? It's to have an economic valuation of the ecosystem services that the forest provides. It will certify certain kinds of a forest, like this is a forest and sandalwood is available here, and this is endangered, this has to be provided lots of conservation methods. And the third one is that National Forest Ecosystem Management Information System, a database is created with the Envis portal, where it will try to collect the information regarding how many plant species or how many animal species in the area occurs and what kind of birds and animals occur in a particular area. This information is collected in a forest ecosystem management information system. So based on this only, Ministry of Environmental and Forest and Climate Change has come up with the National Forestation Program, which is to make you plant trees everywhere, anywhere place, whichever place you find it vacant, you have to try to plant trees. That is what is promoted through one Mahotsav, which is a forestry based conservation program at the community level, as well as another mission on Green India, which comes under the National Action Plan for the Climate Change. Ever since that portion has come up, the scheme has come up for the Ministry of Environmental and Forest and Climate Change. It has focused on Green India program. What is the National Mission for Green India program? It is one of the 8 missions under the National Action Plan of Climate Change, which was launched in 2015. According to this, it says that 5 million hectares of green cover should be extended such that a quality green cover can provide carbon sequestration, which we've already dealt in the next lecture series. Please do check out this lecture, because carbon sequestration has been explained through the examples also. Then there are various hydrological services like biodiversity and provisioning services of providing fuel, fodder, and timber from the forest products. That is why this Green India mission has been promoted. Then we also have a livelihood income for the forest based tribals, scheduled tribes which occur in these areas. That is why they also have some livelihood opportunities from the bamboo or from the plants and animals that they hunt in these regions, and that livelihood income from the 3 million households also to be enhanced is what is aiming this Green India mission. So Green India mission, a job scheme of afforestation program creating assets by through the program of NREGA, National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme, job scheme by afforestation. Because all the areas whichever is vacant and where there is no forest cover, these NREGA workers will try to cultivate that kind of a fields with lots of plants and all, that will provide a jobs, where government also will feel that some kind of coordination efforts are made towards promoting the Green India mission, as well as ensuring the economic security to all the backwards areas, forest livelihood to all the tribal areas, tribal people of 3 million households, and targeting of 10 million hectares in forest and for non-forest areas in coming 10 years, as well as periodically monitoring how much plantation has been done, with remote sensing data and photographs area having a collection of database management system. That is what Green India mission aims to. Now joint forest management program has been also launched by the MOEFCCC, Ministry of Environment and Forest, which says that local communities will enter into an agreement with the forest department, saying that okay, the forest department will say that come on, we have to protect the forest from illegal felling or excessive grazing or forest fires occurring. So we have to continuously monitor. Whenever you see some kind of forest fires occurring, please do come and tell us, so that we can come and rescue that operations at that point of time, so that the forest will not be damaged to an extent. So this is the kind of a contract between the local community and the forestry department. That is how the joint forest management program is being taken up. And there are several laws that make the banning of cutting down of trees, it's illegal through various mechanisms. Like one is the Forest Conservation Act of 1980 to reserve to protect the reserve forest, and the Environmental Protection Act of 1986, which also says that government has the power to protect and implement the quality of environment by preventing the kind of pollution. There is another very glorious act regarding the scheduled tribes and other traditional forests, as well as recognition of forest rights of Act of 2016, 2006, which says that the forest dwelling scheduled tribes which occur or inhabit any forest area should not be taken out from their own households or the habitat areas, because these are the people who are going to conserve that areas. Without the Gram Sabha without the Gram Sabha permission, no kind of industry can come up in such areas. So that is another jewel act in the Indian history. Now we have another concept, that is a concept which was left in the previous session, so I thought of adding here, because the forest ecosystems have some kind of productivity. What is a productivity? Productivity is nothing but, see, any kind of a forest or a plant will prepare its own food, right? After respiring, after giving out some oxygen, it will store some kind of an energy. So each of the forest biosystem, like maybe it's an open ocean or estuary or temperate grassland, each will have some kind of an energy stored in it in terms of the per meter square per year, per the area, meter square area, how much grams of energy, how much grams of biomass it possesses. So each of the forest has one kind of a categorization, like 2100 or 2500. Based on that, this chart has been given, because there was a question asked in the previous years, that arrange the orders of given listed below. Let me show you the question itself in the coming up sections. Before that, see, the biomes and the productivity is like the least productivity is ocean, and the highest is the estuaries or the coral reefs. Then corals or estuaries, or you can also say the estuaries or wetland mangroves conservation. And then the temperate savanna, taiga, temperate grasslands of Tundra, and then the ocean is the least. So that, keeping that in mind, you can answer that question very easily. So that question is nothing but decreasing productivity. So I have already said you that ocean is the least, right? So in the options, whichever says that the ocean at the last portion, that is the answer. So simply you can answer this question with this idea of the concept. Then the question is that in a tropical forest is removed, it will not regenerate quickly, just like a deciduous forest. Rainforest will not be generating quickly. Why is it? Is it because of the rainforest species are slow growing? It is not true, right? Because plants, each of the individual plants has its own rate of growing. So this is wrong. C is wrong. Then exotic species will invade. What if the exotic species are not present in the rainforest? What will happen in that situation? There is no fertility loss or invasion happening. Then there is nothing wrong with the system that the plant cannot grow. So the C and D is outrightly rejected with the option. So now the option is between A and B because it's a confusing. One is says the soil is deficient in nutrients and propagating of the trees in the rainforest have poor viability. Now you have to understand the tropical rainforest. I've already told you like the rainfall is a significant factor here. Leaching happens. That is why the soil is deficit with the nutrients, such that when the soil is deficient with the nutrients, again when you replant the trees, it's the regeneration will be at less. So the answer to this question will be A option. The next one is Himalayan range. Which of the is the most appropriate? It's a high rainfall that supports luxuriant vegetation growth. Is that true? Is it a high rainfall region, or is the temperate wet evergreen forest that occurs in the Western Ghats portion is the highest region? Just think about it. And it's a confluence of different biogeographical zones. Is that true? You have to see to the biogeographical runs chart which I have mentioned. Then the third portion is exotic and invasive PT have not been introduced in the region. Is it has it been any time mentioned that it is free from any of the invasive species? You must have read in the current affairs portion also that many of the invasive species from the neighboring Tibet or the Nepal portions do come up into the Himalaya regions, determining its stability. The last one is a less human interface. It is absolutely false. Any kind of an ecosystem, man has not left his footprint on it. That is why this portion is outrightly rejected, this portion. So the third and the fourth one option are outrightly rejected. Now do comment me below which of the two options in the first and the second you would choose for this answer based on the discussion. Then another question on red sanders is a species in the part of South India, is one of the most important trees in the rainforest regions. I've already discussed that red sanders, which is nothing but the sandalwood, comes under which kind of a forest tree? Please get back to the discussion and see if I have read it in the tropical evergreen or tropical deciduous. Tell me that in the comment section, and I'll definitely put this question and answer in the PDF in the concise video which I'll be giving. So check out the answer in that portion. Then the next question is that the region of the India that has a combination of mangrove, evergreen and deciduous, where is it present? See, mangrove and evergreen, where is it present? Most of it, the things are that mangrove and wetland or evergreen kind of a forest is present where the coastals or marshy areas or lots of water availability is there. So in all of the portions, let's see which of the portions is mostly having these mangrove and evergreen forest for the time being. One is that you can say the north coastal Andhra Pradesh and Andaman Nicobar, you can always consider it. Whether southern Saurashtra, you do have some mangrove forest there, but do you have evergreen? You are having a kind of tropical semi-arid regions in that area. So you can reject it B and C options. The answer would be in A and D. But deciduous forest, where is the deciduous forest found? Andaman Nicobar has an evergreen kind of a forest, so the answer would be north coastal Andhra Pradesh. And then let's see in the Himalayas, you're liking to see which kind of plants are there. Oak, rhododendron, sandalwood. Which of the three plants would be available? Sandalwood, which we already discussed, it is found in the Western Ghats and Eastern Ghats portion. So that is why sandalwood, when you try to eliminate it, which is the option left, which is 1 and 2. That is how you decide the answer to the question. And then what is the characteristic of equatorial forest? There are tall, set trees with crowns forming continuous canopy, coexistence of large species, or presence of numerous varieties of epiphytes. Do answer this, because you will always see a kind of one option being eliminated directly. You can understand that equatorial forest, since there are a lot of canopy is there, dense vegetation is there, there are not number of species that exist in below the trees level, right? So there will be lots of epiphytes because the sunlight doesn't reach the grasses. That is why epiphytes are the most important thing. Okay, 3 is the option. So 1 is eliminate in the sense like first option you can just clear it out, and the answer would lie in the B, C and D. The tall and close set of trees in the crowns in the sense the uppermost portion where the branches would try to expand in a larger extent. So that option is right, which because equatorial forest, which is the nothing but the evergreen forest or tropical rainforest of the regions, are the equatorial forest, the large number of species and epiphytes. So the answer is 1, 2 and 3 to this question. Now the forest where teak is a dominant species, do comment below, because this is a very important, very direct question. I've already mentioned, I've mentioned teak indirectly in the session. So get back to the video if you have not understood, or you are in a confusion state. You will understand which form of a tree species is teak. So in the next session we'll be dealing with the desert ecosystem. We'll be seeing UNCCD, what kind of a mechanisms internationally in national level also desertification to curb the desertification phenomena, what steps have been taken, we'll see, and some kind of a state forest report in 2017 that also will be dealt in the terrestrial ecosystem, which is part 2 of this portion. To until then, do think about the personal guidance program under the esteemed guidance of Aurora sir, who is a experienced mentor in this field, who can guide you with a study plan with lots of prelims and mains notes, as well as one-to-one doubt clearing sessions in an individualistic approach strategic framework. In whichever nook of the corner of the country you are present, you will get the information, the strategy, the daily timetable, the material support, the mind map support, one-to-one answer writing techniques to improve your score in prelims mains interview, such that you can reach your goal of getting into the list. So that is what the PGP program aims to cater to. So you can always contact on the below mentioned details for the details of the get to know the details of the program. Until the next session, Jai Hind.